that my friend here, Jason
Now,
Nauer,
don't worry about it.
yeah, Jason Nauer,
Check.
and
Can I get a little bit more levels on this one? And you can increase my gain on this.
yeah,
Checking 1, 2. Check 2. Check 2. Check 2. All right, there we go. Cool.
okay. So I admitted you mentioned that actually that which I thought was essential could have been benefiting me as an artist in earlier
No,
stages.
yeah.
uh, I mentally or whatever otherwise I wasn't ready for it, so therefore it really won't be beneficial. If anything, it will be the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the nature of the fact that like we I think we screw ourselves over. Or not necessarily like not even no, that's the wrong term. That was a dualistic idea. What I think happens is that you listen to the information that you are ready to receive at the time. That's what I think comes through. And I don't think that a lot of other things necessarily come through.
How come you, for example, here at this wonderful place, but it's your job, but when I look at you, I almost sometimes forget that you work here. I
Mm.
think this is like the eternal producer that's working around between one show and another, and they're all happen to be his shows.
I
What's the source of it? Where is it coming from? I'm
what
sure it doesn't. It
that
doesn't.
that idea?
Yeah, no, that state of mind doesn't just show up. It's got to be nourished and fed. And but are you aware that that's the case? Because that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I spend a lot of time by myself, so and I spend a lot of time in thought, and occasionally I'll have a moment or two where I can see accurately what the things that I have done are, and I can see accurately what I've thought about things. And when you go back and you say, "Oh, if you only knew this," you weren't ready for it. You wouldn't have listened. Conversely, though, there is another thing that happens sometimes. This happened to me. Is that when I started filmmaking, I had a director who I don't want to name go and they were kind of suggested to me to maybe have us work together, and I sent them over. We had a really good meeting. I sent them over my reel of what I was working on at the time, and he called me up, and for like 43 minutes. For 43 minutes afterwards, he just told me how terrible my work is.
I wasn't
Just
expecting this.
no, he just in this
What does that mean? What's the
he went into detail about how just awful, awful all of my work was, and just how it's just like, oh, this nothing of it it's good, nothing of it's good. What I'm like, what about this? And then he goes, nope, just terrible, terrible, meaningless, just terrible work. And I kind of got from that, I had this sort of push afterwards. This kind of like, I'm going to show you. I'm going to succeed out of spite. I'm going to show you 100% how wrong you are. And that's what I did. I focused on it. I mean, mind you, it's weird because it's also like, in some ways, is it the wrong thing to focus on? Yeah, sure, because I wasn't focusing on a positive. I was focusing on avoiding a negative, which was probably a bad idea. But if it wasn't him, it would have been somebody else. And I'm extremely thankful for it.
So he saved you for the long wait for that to happen. He just let you have it, and now you were free to. You were free.
Yeah,
He freed you.
yeah, you can say that. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. And it's funny you said that. In 1986 or 87, I did the producers course at Three Springs Fireplace Road, and there, at the end of the course, each one was to make a little project, a little kind of shorty. And I remember I did the Requiem of Mozart.
Mm-hmm.
I took footage that my friend brought from Venice, and I did the Requiem of whatever what they called as music, and I put it together, and I did it, and I edited it in the space that didn't have walls. Then they were only curtains, so you would hear what the others are doing. I took it to Jerusalem. It was one of the things I had in Jerusalem when I went to visit. I think it was the winter of '87, and a great dancer, very famous in Israel, and a philosopher, and someone who's very narcissistic, but shifting between narcissism and good nature. So you could never be upset with him. He was always knew how to balance things out. So they happened to come to the apartment that I was renting, and there I had a a camcorder, 8 millimeter. I had a VCR. No, I'm sorry. I had a camcorder, 8 millimeter. And it was connected to a projector. It was like an improvised projector. It was really beautiful. It could give you about 60 inches. And you kind of convert it, you put it, and then people can sit in the living room and you can see something really. So I was taken by the setup more than what I was about to show him, but
Sure.
I didn't really even plan to show it to him. But when I did, he did what you just said you experienced.
Yeah.
Uh, but for me, what happened was I I want I wanted my reaction to be noble, but it wasn't. And while I was like reacting to him, like get the hell out of this apartment right away because
Yeah.
I don't need this energy here. I don't need people like you near me.
Yeah.
Out, completely out. Never mind that later on in the years to come, I portrayed his dance company that is actually in the National Library of Israel. This footage and all this. But the point was that I felt that he is a dancer that, in my eyes, is just a basic folk dancer. But he's thinking he came from the high society of Vienna to
Right.
bring a message and a declaration to the world, which happens to be completely shallow and empty. But we give him the courtesy, at least I, because it's a much preferred way to give him courtesy than to create friction. And at the end of the day, nobody's having fun, kind of thing. That's the way I was thinking. So one thing, when he was on his way out, I literally kicked him out of my apartment. I said, Yaron, that was his name, Yaron, I really expected you to see the whole technical setup, how playful it was. Long before you see any footage on the wall, the improvisation to identify what was the nature of my excitement in sharing something with you. And you failed big time. And I cannot tolerate it because if I will tolerate it and respond nobly, I will become sick from it physically. It's going to really take
Yeah.
its toll on me. I don't want to. But then down the road, I don't want to leave you with the rest of the story because 25, 30 years later, it continued. but but isn't it a great feeling to think that someone freed you by doing something, by reacting negatively?
It is. And I think it's a good way for you to take something from a situation. And I think it's ultimately, it seems to me to be a way for you to take a sense of ownership in your life afterwards. Because it's what happened, And this person, many awards, very well respected for their time. Similar to your friend who did not see what you were trying to convey. But it's also like going back to what we started talking about, and then there was the stop starting because of Riverside, which is the idea of you were not ready for it. And so here's something that you may want to think about. If that dancer had been over the moon for you and loved your work, if that director had said, Jason, I get what you're trying to do and I want to work with you and build you up to something, you and I would not be sitting here right now.
Probably you're right. Probably you're right. There is such a thing called civility. I believe in it wholeheartedly. I really do.
Yeah.
And civility means that someone says, listen, look at the shows here at LTV. A lot of people that wants to kind of interview themselves with me because they want to tell me, please, can I be a part of the show? I say yes so fast.
Yeah.
And I really mean it. So I thought, like, okay, there's no way someone can prove me wrong that I would say, why did I say yes? Look at his work. It's terrible. It's 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 an impossibility in my immediate present, immediate reality. It's impossible. I know that it's impossible that I will be wrong in a way because I try to be civil and nice and accommodating and loving and welcoming and everything, really, for real. A little bit of each. I will not at all give, if in one chance in a million, that at the end of the road I would say, I was wrong. Because it comes from just like a basic level of conviction, and surrounding it is just the love of the other. And now I don't want to sound cliche, but we must sometimes be cliche in order to make a point. It's the love of the other. It's the love of the other. It's the consideration, civility. So he could have said, Jason, this was actually pretty impressive, even though you're a long ways from your goal. Huh? Right there.
But if he had done that, I would have not had the fire.
How do you know? What?
How there's an element where I know myself at least. I enjoy a challenge that is I sink my teeth into. I do very good when it comes to a very hard challenge. I do very bad when it comes to a very boring, very benign challenge. And so often for myself, I have to go and make something harder than it needs to be for me to get the energy to do it. I have to be, nope. I even do this in the morning when I work out. I'm stretching, I'm doing something, and just like, how much more effort can I put into it? How much more effort can I do? See, I can do that. And I know at this point in my life, I know the places where I falter. And so, in a way, it was an amazing godsend because he said to me exactly what I needed to hear. So I would never have doubted myself. Because if you have spite, you're not really in doubt because you know exactly why you're doing something.
But can I suggest
Yeah.
that you could have done without?
I don't know if I could have. And that's a thing that I am quasi painfully admitting. I don't know if I could have.
What if you wouldn't have shown that footage, period? Not to him and not to anybody else. You would have just kept doing for yourself and examining yourself until you really feel something a little more than you felt then.
I doubt it. Because with me, I know that at that point in time, like I think there are certain points in an artist's journey. So this is where the form has to deviate from one to another. You as a painter can go and make a painting and have it be a level of expression for yourself. Francisco de Goya, the black paintings are a great example of this. Never intended to be shown. It's done at the end of his life, though. After he was the most famous painter in all of
But
Spain.
never meant to be shown is meaningless. You know that.
True, except for the fact that you still are a person. You still have an ego. You still have an attachment to the idea of self in the overall society. And by showing your work, what you're trying to do is you're trying to also, in some ways, express yourself, but in some ways, find your place in society. That's why the cave paintings still existed. That's why they were there. In a way, you were also showing the world, look at what I see. Look at what calls to my eye.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm taking this with this pigment and then putting it up there. It's the same core structure. Now, I'm not saying that at the end of life, that at different times in life, you transition to different things. You see this in life all around you. Your kids, they start off by painting. They paint solely for themselves when they paint. It is that pure element of
They
expression.
serve the gesture.
There you go.
I know all about kids and all about
And
art.
then, as you transition from a child to an adolescent, how many things change in you? How many things change in you?
Yeah.
And then after that. And so I think that art has a different meaning at different points in a person's life.
Actually, I can give you an example. A collector, a scholar, a businessman, a a, a, a critic comes to you and says, "You know how I know you're so good at what you do, painting or otherwise? It's because I know by observing what you do that I personally cannot do it myself." Only one person said that to me, ever, from all the people that wanted to say your art is good and all that. And by the way, when people said, for the most part, and say how great my art is, I really enjoyed it, and I took it and I learned everything. I learned even that means they weren't aware that even one word that came out of their mouths, I did not skip, and I took it back to my immediate vicinity of creativity, and I implemented it, and I learned something from everything. But nobody ever said that to me. And then I said to myself, what a wonderful way to see things. That he looks at your painting and he says, I really, most of the time, say, I can really do this if I wanted to.
Yeah.
And then you realize, no, this one you cannot do. So,
but that's he's right.
What do you treasure? Look how funny it is that in order to externalize, you have to treasure something first.
And you also have to be able to know what you lack. If you think you can do everything, then you don't value anything. That's there's something very true to that. If you think everything is within your grasp, then what treasure is there?
But think about it. If you want to really have a successful message going outwards, you have to keep a lot to yourself. I mean, bring it as close as possible. That's why I wanted to go and ask you what you were saying about the in between, the before and the after, that they're all actually the same. So, what is responsible for that punch? Like the punch that comes with the motion of the body turning, and it's really an exquisite power, unified, balanced. So this is our task. I mean, let's just say that if I want to tell you something about, if you're interested in painting and I want to tell you about something in painting, I would have to, no matter at some point, even if our interaction is 1 minute, keep 15 seconds to tell you that the punch is important. That fact, for example, I have a way to explain to people that the second chakra is enough. You don't need to know about the other chakras, because the second chakra has something to do with all the chakras, mainly directly and some indirectly. But it's just a waste of time in my eyes to start looking at all the things while the chakra this particular one is telling you the entire story. If you're willing to listen, if you're willing to maybe contemplate that it might be so. You follow? So the punch is the one that characterizes, okay, I think this is Jason's. I think this is Haim's. I think this is familiar. I don't quite remember, but I remember that I know some characteristic, but they all belong to that one punch they can put an end to everything kind of thing.
Yeah.
One punch they can help everything erupt,
Yeah,
and
that's
so
fair.
much more. So how do we communicate that within the message there will be a hidden punch that it might, if someone will pay attention, it will hit him, and that's what we want. Because even if he's going to be out, when he wakes up, he wakes up to a better world.
Yeah.
if it makes sense at all.
I think that the only answer to that is how hard it hits you personally. You know, it's interesting. I don't know if you ever listened to his movie, watch his movies. Andrei Tarkovsky. Do you ever? He was a Soviet filmmaker, and he did a lot of great work. And he defected and still did some great movies. He died later on from it was nuclear waste in the area that he was filming one of his films in. He later on got cancer from it, as well as many people of it. But one of the book he wrote, well, he actually he might have written another one if you want to consider it. I think there's like letters. You know how sometimes they have like philosophers or writers that they take their letters and their correspondence with other people and they make a book of it, an anthology. I want to say there's one of those of his. I'm not certain. And he talks about this idea because he came from loving Proust and a lot of other Russian literature. And it was this idea that it had to speak to something within you, deep within you, that was something of a memory or a dream that only you knew. It was really interesting that only you could know it. That to me always comes back. That you have to be able to know in your heart where it's from entirely. Know the genealogy of whatever your image is. And or at least when you do it, have it speak to something of it. Why is there a dog there coming out of the coming across the field from the distance on a as the sun sets and as the mist rises? Why is that there? What do I think of when that happens? I think of being alone at home for the first time and the danger of the distance and not having anyone around. That means something to you.
And you just described the punch, the sudden increase of intensity, and it might be very minute, but very.
I think it's the direction. I think going off of what you're saying, that idea of the punch, a punch can be as powerful in the world, but if it's not directed at the right spot, then it doesn't mean.
But this punch is not the punch that you would understand as being a punch. It's more like a, helping most of the ingredients that are surrounding you for whatever purpose that they're there to come together to be a source of power available for you in a certain shape that is at your disposal.
Absolutely.
So if you're derailed while you're dealing with the other 70-80%, you yeah, this is we need to
we have to fix that clock.
Yeah. You freaked out. So wait a second. But so when we have to deal with the other 60-70%, suddenly we have like our savings account that we can have at our disposal to bail us out from obstacles that otherwise would put it, stop the whole vessel from moving forward. So we're getting most moments of grace by our own doings, and we at least want to be able to continue uninterrupted. Doesn't have to be breaking through constantly. It doesn't have to be noisy and everybody knows that if and when we are around, it doesn't have to be that. But when the day comes, people are not going to leave the same as when they went in.
No, I will not.
That's it. When I first started, the first thing I learned is that I cannot deal with myself, low self of inferiority. I really did have that. Really. When I had all the reasons in the world not to be there, I was deep inside it. And so suddenly I'm an artist, and suddenly I really see hell coming my way. That means I am just not going to survive this. So it means I can paint paintings, but I will not survive this thinking that I'm there, thinking all the things that I'm thinking. So when I sobered up, I introduced something that I knew for sure that I have high self-confidence and self-awareness that I'm good at. And it really doesn't matter what it was. I brought it to the forefront. Let's just say, for the sake of being an artist, yeah. If I go give an estimate, let's see that wall in Studio 3, which happens to be, I don't know, 40 feet wide and 50 feet high, correct?
No, it's about 20 feet high. I think it's about maybe
No,
25.
no, it's more. I've painted it. It's definitely more. It's almost 50 feet.
The distance from one side to the other is only 40. The height of it is, I want to say, it can't
Maybe
be
40.
over 35, if not 40, because
Yes.
the top of the, because I used a laser measure. I have a
Yeah.
laser. I carry a laser
I know
measurement
the
tool
weight
with
for
me.
sure because my 32 footer was there. But the thing is, let's say I have to give an estimate. You call me, say, paint
Yeah.
this wall. I will never, ever in my life say, I'm sorry, thank you for the work, but I cannot do it. It's too much, it's too big. So that's the first thing that came into my mind. I need to have this attitude that I go to an estimate. Nothing can, it, nothing can shake me. So here I come now to a canvas that happens to be big. Then 4x5 is big even for many artists today. So for me, 4x5 is my pinky ready. It's like I think like that. It's like, what's this? No problems. I got it. So now I'm completely unaware of art per se. Because before I'm surrounded by capable artists. I'm a no one. I'm a no good. I'm a low level. And and so what comes to mind? I cannot paint. I cannot paint, even if I wanted to. Everything that I paint will just not be satisfactory. Will be awful. Will be ugly. Will whatever. So now here I'm so exuberant with the fact that I can handle this canvas that I forgot that I'm actually painting, and usually find out towards the last stages of what's ever happening on the canvas that actually I didn't pay attention to the art per se in the process of this becoming. And slowly, slowly also I started rationalizing by way of my photographic memory, which I have. I used to have a better one, but I have still, that I can compartmentalize so much and not lose track and always reintroduce it later. Compositions, whatnot. I was so busy with it that I realized I reached my salvation pretty quickly.
That's pretty awesome.
And therefore, the technique itself served as a source for the subject matter to come to life, but not the subject matter to come to life as a condition for the process to begin with.
On that note, my friend, I do have to head on back.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Haim.
Jason Nauer, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. I really appreciate it. This is good. Food for thought. I love you. Thank you. Take care. Yeah. Okay, so what did we just do that? Oh yeah, that's actually good. Let's see. Good. Actually, very good. Uh, okay, let's see if we can do that. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Okay, very good. So, I don't even know. After this conversation with with Jason, it was. Is that on? Let's see. Okay, very good. So, yeah, spending time with Jason is a one of a kind, unique interaction. A wonderful individual that never boring to interact with him. Improvising, right on the spot kind of thoughts immersing and coming to the surface. But actually, it would be a great. Maybe I should do this here. What the heck? Wouldn't hurt. Make me look official. I'm actually can hear myself right now. So um, to be able to celebrate I don't know if I can call it a victory, celebrating a some kind of understanding that gets you closer to a sense of freedom of operation, where you find yourself actually capable of running this machine, this unique machine, this how should I describe it? Um, Giving you the immediacy of that sound contact, and then of course on top of it, you want to be able to maintain the friendship with the circumstances, and in the same token, uh, making sense and being able to appeal to people because you make sense, because when people listen to you, they're actually capable of listening because you're making somewhat sense, and so that spells communication. And is that it? Okay. So yeah, I'm just calling my friend Gary Swanson and see because I can pick up this conversation with him. and in Let's see if he will answer. Hello, Gary. Come on. Okay. We can just actually try one more time, and if not, then I can. Very good. So yeah. So the distance, like Jason just mentioned, the distance, and have some scary aspects to it, especially when it gets closer and closer and closer, as it becomes in a very weird motion, the opposite direction from the future to the now, and meeting all these ingredients that coming from the past to the now. And other than that, really, um, other than that, really, very good. Just an honest attempt, daily attempt to find ourselves in the hands of our goodwill to make sense. Yeah, it's me. It's Haim. I'm actually doing a live show, and I was hoping that. Oh, really? But can I put you can I put you on speaker so you can communicate with my viewers? Well, I mean, okay, now, yes. You are,
like you went into outer space, you orbited, and now you're back.
because I had my headphones, but now you're on the air now. So I
Oh,
I mentioned that actually, Lenore Bailey was a regular here. You used to show up here at least twice a month, I would say, if not more.
right.
And
Well,
I miss those
I
days of.
wasn't expecting to be on the air, but hello, everyone, and I hope everyone has happy holidays and is healthy. And best wishes and love. Just want to shout that out.
That's really nice of you. But I miss the days where everything was so spontaneous and we had some serious conversations early mornings, huh?
Right, we did. But you know what? Things change, and you just have to go with the flow.
Yes, definitely.
Go with the flow.
Good. So is our dear friend available?
No, he's not. He's not even here. And I know he said that he was supposed to be on call with you, but I think it slipped his mind
Oh,
because he's out and about.
okay, so I'll try him on the cell phone. Good talking to you, Lenore, and we'll talk
All
soon.
right. Thank you, Haim, and
Absolutely.
everybody. Very well. Be
Okay.
well.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Okay, so this, oh man, look at that. Okay. So yeah. I just want to make sure that this is here. Okay, very good. So we kind of, I think, find ourselves uh, dealing with certain issues, especially if you're an artist, that are crucial to the advance towards whatever. Most people that I know, they really, even now after 20, 30 years of creations, they still, their goal is not defined, not so much so that they can even really point and say, well, this is roughly what it's all about. A lot of people struggle with the definition, with the way they're capable, incapable to describe a coherent route from point A to point B. Things like that. It's very very crucial. And as much as we can say we don't want to rush things and find ourselves involved in that kind of premature scenario that actually takes us backward rather than push us forward. And most of it we realize that has nothing to do with something that we're doing wrong. I mean, if it's something that we're doing right, obviously that will benefit us and that will be evident. Um, but most probably, this level of naivete, this level of being innocent, kind of in a very innocent way approaching it, which is a good thing if you're established in the way you go about it and the way you handle the obstacles and the challenges, then that works for you incredibly smoothly, interestingly, and effectively and meaningfully. But if you don't have that as a backing, as a backup, as a support system that holds you above ground while you struggle, that otherwise you would be like completely compromised. And it doesn't matter how much you did. You didn't put things in order. You didn't create the infrastructure that will make sure that under its concern you're safe, you're protected, you're sheltered, you're um, loved, you're accepted, you're welcome. Like for real, even though it sounds like a little kind of too much information, but in that sense, you find yourself in a scenario once in a lifetime that happens to happen 100 times a day, 365 days a year, 100 scenarios of becoming and evaporating into the beginning of becoming, evaporating into the beginning of becoming. Uh, and realize that when you are actually finding yourself during the day looking into the weirdness of this composition called our daily journey, and in the same token realizing that actually when everything's said and done there were um, useful efficient actions taking place due to which you can see the result. And it's like when this is something to speak for, what is it that we have? I early on wanted to create that deposit of something to show for. I remember there were a group of people that I was a part of in the early 2000, and we used to meet once a day for breakfast. Poets and lawyers and surgeons and writers and painters and whatnot and musicians gathering and when I joined the group, they were kind of established group already, and I felt, and I think I was the youngest. Yes, I was probably like 35 then. Um, and so they happened maybe 3, 4, 5 months into our weekly meeting. I had an opening. I had like a solo exhibition of paintings, and they came to the show. And after the encounter of them showing up to my opening for the solo exhibition of paintings, their attitude towards me changed incredibly. It felt as if it added 2, 3 years into the process of that otherwise I would have to go through in order to achieve that kind of recognition and closeness. It was unbelievable. And I realized then, I mean, now it's a fact in my life that I know that if I want to speak in the voice of the artist that I am, representing the mediums, that I choose to consider as my own, as viable, as realistic, as happening, then I I want to create a full body of work first and foremost. I want to be able to show a full body of work. Some would argue, say, well, 2, 3 paintings are full body of work also. I agree. But in my case, it wasn't 2, 3 or 3. It was 2 dozen maybe, you know, 20, 24, 30 paintings is something that most of my uh, artist friends cannot even contemplate to be able to create unless it takes at least a couple of years, rightfully so, because they have their own processes and the time consuming and whatnot, and and I have my own technique to bypass and to shortcut and to do the best that I can to save time, to be efficient, and to build up an attitude in place in order to achieve what I need to achieve as fast as I need to achieve. And I remember that between one exhibition to another, people didn't have enough time to pay attention to the art because they were too busy thinking, well, how come so many things? You go into an exhibition, here's the artist, here's the work, and in your head, things circle, and you're trying to get some answers, some understanding of what's going on. In Jerusalem, it happened to me with one artist in my entire life. And I've seen really incredible artists in my life. And I have respect for those that gave us so much point of reference with their incredible work 100 years ago. So, 70 years ago, um, new movements, new alternative ways of thinking and operating and implementing. All the respect in the world they deserve. And of course, they do get the much deserved respect. And I I saw in Jerusalem. I think once I saw with my friend. He was, for me, he was a maestro. He was a pianist, a bass player, a a violin player, a fantastic artist. So this is the first time in my life. I think the last time in my life also. Then I went into a show and I saw the body of work. Of course, the art was exquisite. So you go into a space and this, what you experience in front of you, was created in 6 months. It's almost like Hans Fallada writing, I think, one of these books, 35 Days or something. Some incredible 300 pages, a story that will just knock you out. And you're reading it. When I read all of Hans Fallada's books. And it was, for me, it was just like, while I was reading, I was saying, "Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Who is this guy?" Unbelievable. So went into that show, and I was so busy admiring the power behind the volume of work that I was just having too much fun, enjoying myself from this honest in front of me, that I really didn't have much time to examine the details of the work, which otherwise I would have, and which I did. I became more and more familiar and acquainted with his work, and since we were incredibly good friends, and we were comrades in playing music together and doing our own freestyle alternative recordings, so so nowadays I don't experience the kind of time consuming, energy draining factors that, no matter how you look at it, even at best, they will derail you. And you immediately got to find a way to get rid of, to try and avoid the traffic. Even if it spells that you don't travel to begin with at all, stay put in your neighborhood. Take a walk, take a bike ride, you know? Think about this radius of 2 miles. That's it, done. And so sometimes it's really smart to think, well, I'm not going to start or embark on this traveling adventure ordeal. I'm just going to stay put. Take walks and have some barbecues and watch good movies, smoke a pipe, and enjoy all these wonderful things that we know are good for the soul and make us happy, and we can't go wrong with. So when I'm in my studio, I'm not a hermit. I'm not alone a lot, not at all. I cannot, having the family that I have and all this. It's just like being alone is almost an impossibility. But I have the sense of urgency in the midst of creation, that I don't care what you out there say, but I hear the voices, I hear the questions, I hear the reservations, I hear the declarations, I hear the movement, I hear the music, I hear the sounds, I hear the humming, I hear the so much more. The list is humongously long, and I engage. There are two ways to box in a champion setup. Either you go at it, you close in, and you receive punches and you deliver punches, and it's all about power and stamina, and nobody's backing off, and it's like this, and uppercuts, and here, and short hooks and right hooks, and this, jabs, that, everything close range. And there's the keeping your distance and using your jab, setting up the right hand with the jab over this, that, countering. So you can win a fight like this, you can win a fight like this, you can lose a fight like this, you can win a fight. But there is there are options, even though not that many. Or you can just kind of come in and start swinging, and before you know it, you're knocked out on the floor, and you will never remember what happened. So volume, early on in the process, I wanted to feel its weight. I wanted to feel its weight. I wanted to say, no, I don't think it's heavy enough. Add some more weight. Get a bunch of things and start counting them. And now there's only 17 here. It's not enough. Let's add another 7, 10. And then when you have a quarter of 100, I love to say that. When you have a quarter of 100, about a notch up from 2 dozens, you start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. But then, there's no tunnel, but there is light. The light is still there, but there's no tunnel. There's just a light. And the light is on, noticeable, and your journey is kind of secured because you got the guards ahead of you, guards behind you, and God above you. So when you experience that, and I learned about myself that it was right. That what I was doing was really actually the right thing to do, the right way to do the right thing. I really was feeling fairly happy with myself. And thanks to having my friend that I visited his show once and just looking at him, looking at his face expression, was one of the first times in my life that I saw another person's face expression that resembled my. I never thought that I could see something that resembles me because it's just pretty difficult. But I think it was the attitude vis-a-vis the body gesture, vis-a-vis the insinuation, voice insinuation, and the kind of dairy guessing game, with legible, logical, intellectual, snip snap semi declarations, conclusions. This sounds like me. He sounds like me. He even looks like me. I mean, I look like him. I sound like him. I even look like him. I sound like him. And you can never end up at some point, get to a certain point and say, oh, what did I do? How did I miss so much? And I don't think I couldn't live to my expectation. It cannot happen because the results, they kick in immediately. When you have a certain attitude in place, finding that magical second chakra that covers the entire spectrum, the entire full bodiness of chakras, tells the story in the name of everything else. Focus on that and focus on the fact that there's the immediacy of sensing density, sensing, occupation of space, sensing spiritual, emotional, morals, values, opinions, point of views. I think the pudding is in the proof, and I think that I cannot think of anything more delicious now to have a nice, tasty, delicious old-fashioned pudding. But so it becomes a leader. This conclusion, this realization slash conclusion slash realization becomes a leader because it tells you this is something that you know, and we know that you know, and you know that we know that you know, and vice versa. And you know that it works. You tested it many times, too many times to fail by thinking and accepting that it works. And it works means that you're covered for life. Your journey is secured. Your journey is acquired and owned by you. Your journey at your disposal belongs to you. And out of that, every visit, there's a layer added, 2 layers added, multiple layers added. And you don't expect anything less than that. So you find yourself in that kind of, I don't even know how to call it, um, mm, the becomingness of the is out of the void, out of nothingness, something meaningful, shows a face, and a serious face for that sake, that wants to share its willingness to inform us that he's willing to share, and that will entail in having their attention uh, uh, for the most part, and showing some signs of content, satisfaction, and that's how you prevail, especially if you start creating art like I did in late 30s. And yeah, it doesn't matter. Like I don't think that like Jason, my friend here, said before. Maybe it wouldn't have been right, not even a day earlier. Nevertheless, years earlier. Um, I wasn't ready. I was ready when I was ready, and that's the kind of conversations I have with many people out there. You're ready when you're ready. How do I? How would I know when you're ready? Well, if you would ask my opinion, I'm close enough to you and to your journey of creations. Maybe I'll be able to give you a few kind of tips here and there, what I think, and you'll consider how to go about it, what to adapt, what to utilize, what to use. Uh, but yeah, uh, but it's a very tight network of ingredients that are making you who you are, making you creating the things that represent you of who you are, and also bringing happiness to the hearts of people. Nothing like observing a wonderful painting of any style, of any kind, of any colors, of any composition. Fantastic feeling. Opens up the world, opens up all the things that you thought that are just buried deep into kind of lameness and darkness and mildewy, kind of sweet mildew, uh, citric, uh, you know, citric cream kind of thing. Opposites thrive and have so much to offer in the process of it. Okay. Let's see. What is the thing that what's going on? So, let me just see. Let me just see now. Okay. Okay. Is that it? Yeah, very good. So, we envision a smooth ride. We should be able to envision a smooth ride. Actually, we deserve smooth ride, especially to those that are convinced that this is the right thing for them to do. That happens to be, at the end of it, like bringing happiness to the hearts of people, to the lives of people. Um, before started painting paintings, I used to go out there and admire and adore everyone who had any desire in him or her to paint. I welcomed the most mediocre paintings as important in my life. I couldn't see something that I would find myself saying, even I don't like it. I would always find a way to describe my dismay through how happy I am, through how satisfied I am, through how accepting and supporting directly and indirectly I am. I always found it as the most effective. And we're going to be here tomorrow, as much as we were here yesterday, and as much as we are going to be. We're going to be here tomorrow, as much as we were here yesterday, and as much as we're here this afternoon of Monday, September 4th, year 2023. And my name is Haim Mizrahi. Keep up the good spirits, and we're going to see you because we're here every day. And we really appreciate your support and being there the way you are, as who you are, and